The moment I realized I should never have opened my mom's old email account happened about 30 seconds after I logged in. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Old newsletters, shopping receipts, random messages from years ago. Then I opened one email thread that had been archived. The subject line was simple: "Please tell him the truth." I thought it was just another conversation I did not need to read. But when I saw the name of the sender, my stomach dropped, because the message was not sent by someone I recognized, and it was written 10 years before. My name is Daniel. I am 28 years old, and until last year I believed my family was completely normal. My mother, Sarah, raised me as a single parent. She always told me that my father had left when I was very young. The explanation was simple: he was not ready to be a parent. Growing up, I accepted that story without questioning it. My mother worked extremely hard to support us. She managed 2 jobs for many years. She attended every school event. She helped with homework late at night. There was never a moment when I felt unsupported. Because of that, I never felt the need to search for my father. The story she gave me felt complete. Life continued normally for many years, until one afternoon when something small happened that changed everything. My mother asked me for help recovering a document from her old email account. She had stopped using the account years earlier and could not remember the password. After several attempts, I finally managed to reset it. She thanked me and returned to another room while I searched for the document she needed. At first, the inbox looked exactly like what you would expect from an account that had not been opened for years. Hundreds of unread promotional emails, old work messages, social notifications. Nothing interesting. But curiosity has a strange way of pulling attention toward the smallest details. And one archived folder caught my attention. The folder was labeled Old Conversations. Inside were dozens of email threads from years earlier. Most of them appeared completely ordinary. Messages from friends, family members, work colleagues. Then I noticed something unusual. Several conversations came from the same email address. The sender's name was Michael. That name immediately caught my attention, because my mother had always told me that my father's name was Michael. Until that moment, I had never seen any communication between them. Curiosity slowly turned into nervous curiosity. I opened the first email. The message itself looked ordinary: 2 people discussing schedules and responsibilities. But as I continued reading the conversation thread, the tone slowly changed. The messages became emotional. Arguments appeared. One line stood out clearly: "You promised you would tell him the truth when he was old enough." My heart started beating faster, because suddenly the situation felt very different from what I expected. This was not just a conversation between 2 adults who had separated. It sounded like something unresolved, something hidden, something my mother never mentioned. I hesitated before opening the next message. Part of me wanted to close the laptop immediately. Another part of me felt pulled forward by a growing sense of confusion. The second email was longer. It was written by my mother. "I cannot tell him yet," she wrote. "He is too young to understand." My chest tightened slightly as I read those words, because suddenly the conversation was not abstract anymore. The him they were discussing was clearly me. I continued reading slowly. The next lines felt even more unsettling. "You know why I made that decision," my mother wrote. "It was the only way to protect him." Protect me from what? The question appeared immediately in my mind, and I could not stop reading. The truth appeared gradually, through several emails written over a period of months. Each message revealed another piece of a story my mother had never shared. Years earlier, before I was born, my parents had experienced serious conflict. Not because my father did not want a child, but because of a complicated situation involving another family. The emails revealed that my father had already been married when my mother became pregnant. He had promised to leave his previous relationship. But when the situation became public, everything collapsed. Instead of destroying two families completely, my mother made a difficult decision. She chose to raise me alone. She cut contact with him and told everyone a simpler story. A story where he simply left. The emails showed that my father tried several times to reconnect. He asked to meet me. He asked to explain the situation. But my mother refused. Her messages always returned to the same sentence. I cannot risk confusing his life. For years she maintained that decision. And eventually the emails stopped. The final message from my father ended with one sentence that stayed in my mind long after I closed the laptop. If he ever wants to know the truth, I will always be here. After reading those messages, I sat in silence for several minutes. My mind was racing. Everything I believed about my family history suddenly felt incomplete. But one thing became very clear. My mother had not lied because she wanted to deceive me. She had made a difficult decision during a complicated situation. Later that evening, I spoke with her. It was one of the most emotional conversations we had ever shared. At first, she was shocked that I had discovered the emails. Then she slowly explained the story in her own words. The situation had been painful and confusing when I was born. She believed protecting me from that conflict would allow me to grow up without unnecessary complications. And in many ways, she was right. My childhood had been stable, safe, filled with love. Eventually, we talked about my father as well. She admitted that she had lost contact with him years earlier. But she also understood that I might want answers. For the first time in my life, the possibility of meeting him felt real. Sometimes curiosity leads to discoveries that feel uncomfortable at first. But understanding the full story can also bring clarity. Because family histories are rarely as simple as they appear. Finding the truth in those emails was not something I expected. But sometimes the answers we discover help us understand our families in a deeper way. If you found something like this about your own family, how do you think you would react? Would you confront the situation immediately? Or would you take time to process everything first? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy emotional stories about hidden truths and unexpected discoveries, subscribe to the channel. Because the next story might reveal something even more surprising.